Hi everyone, meteorologist Patrick Crawford here with another Weather Undefeated, talking about sports and weather and how weather can impact those sporting events. Today, we're talking tennis. We're going to be joined here now by Danny Zausner, Chief Operating Officer for the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center. Danny, we appreciate you taking the time to join us here on Weather Undefeated. When it comes to weather and the tennis center, obviously, as you were talking about the U.S. Open, the heat and the humidity, that can always be an issue. Can you kind of just talk about what type of weather that you all have to deal with there?
Fortunately, 2016, we introduced a roof on Arthur Ashe Stadium. So that's been an incredible help. It takes us about 6 minutes to open or close that roof. And then in 2018, we built a new Louis Armstrong Stadium, and that's got a roof as well. Both of those roofs operate completely different from each other. How we deal with weather during the tournament, it's integral that meteorology plays a huge role in that because those roofs are different. One's a natural ventilation stadium and one has to completely rely on climate control to maintain humidity and make sure that the courts never get wet or slippery for the players. But in Arthur Ashe Stadium, because we have about 7,000 tons of steel sitting above the ball, if we close that roof and we start playing tennis, if the sun comes out 15, 20 minutes later, that temperature in the bowl can go up 20, 30 degrees in 15, 20 minutes. And not only that, but then the steel could start sweating. So our engineers have to maintain the climate in the bowl. We're shooting heat up to the steel to dry it off while we're blowing cold air down to the bowl to make sure that the court stays dry. So there's so many moving parts. And kind of having advance notice on what the weather will be like is really helpful. Thankfully, we have an engineering team on site and meteorologists are monitoring for us 24 hours a day. So we kind of go into each day thinking we know what's going to happen with the weather, but those pop-up storms, even lightning for that matter, is really important to us. That anything within 5 miles, cloud to ground, we're going to clear the bowl. And the nice thing, because we have the two roofs now, we can keep 23,000 people inside Arthur Ashe Stadium. We keep another 14,000 inside Louis Armstrong Stadium. And then we've got various locations on the grounds where we could have people seek shelter. So it's really about anything 5 to 10 miles out, cloud to ground, that we really focus our energy on.
And Danny, I mentioned at the top here of Weather Undefeated that the heat, the temperatures can not only be hot, but you add in that humidity, it's going to be feeling even hotter. What are some things that the tennis center does as far as protecting the fans from overheating as well as the players?
So we've got both wind monitors and we've got wet bulbs that we're tracking on every one of the tennis courts. Interestingly enough, the women have a heat index rule that they come off the court for 10 minutes. The men do not. Some people will be confused sometimes when we're saying that the women's matches are delayed, but not the men's. But that's just their rules within the WTA and the ATP. Our fans are pretty resilient, no different than the players. So they kind of know what the experience can be like during the US Open. Constantly remind the fans going into every single day. We'll send email blasts. If we know that we've got high temperatures coming into the area for either that day or the subsequent days, we tell them be prepared, bring water. Water will be available, bottle filling stations throughout the grounds, seek shelter, seek shade as much as possible. Bottom line is it's not like this happens every day, but they are prepared for it when it does happen.
Danny, such great information. You were very helpful. I really appreciate it. Danny Zausner, Chief Operating Officer there at the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center. Danny, thank you so much for joining us here on Weather Undefeated.